Hello, hi, welcome to the first tutorial of the series. As I've said earlier in the demo that this app is built with Webflow, Wized and Xano, where Webflow is handling the UI and Xano is used for the backend, and Wized is in between the two, writing the JavaScript logic to connect the two together. On top of that, we also use some external tools and external JavaScript library. For instance, we use Apex charts to handle the charts in the dashboard page. We power up our Webflow form with Studio Form. Studio Form is an enterprise grade custom form for Webflow and Wiz. It's amazing. You should check it out. We use Docu Generate to handle the invoice generation. The email is handled by loops, and use Stripe for the payments. Yeah, so how I'm gonna be doing it is I'm gonna walk through the UI first, how everything is structured in Webflow, then we will check the backend Xano, then lastly we will end it with Wiz and everything that is integrated into Wiz. So yeah, we are starting with the auth page, login page. Yeah, so let's dive into the login page in Webflow. So inside the login page you have a form that is making our login formation, login submission. The form is powered up by our Studio Form. So if you want to add Studio Form to your form, you use the attribute SF wrapper. So, but before that, you should put their script into the head of your page. So you can get the script here. Go to doc. Yeah, quick start. Insert code. Copy the code. Go to the head of your page. Paste the code here, but it's not here because I've put it in the site settings, the head of in the site settings, so it's present on all pages. Yeah, so inside the form we have an email feed and an ID feed because we're using email and ID to log in, not password. So I'll get to that later. The email is given a Wiz attribute of login email, and ID is given Wiz attribute of login ID. We have a button is a generic submit button, which we are using custom Studio Form attributes to turn it into a submit button, because I could not put the loader in the native Webflow submit button. So that's one of the advantage of Studio Form. Yeah, and the loader itself is given a Wiz attribute. It's a component. Yeah, because I'm using it separately in the project, so I make it a component, and I'm making the Wiz attribute value dynamic by creating a property. So we have Wiz cloak. Wiz cloak is native Wiz attribute that makes your element disappear or hidden on page load until you assign a custom visibility condition to it. Okay, these are also components. They are the error state for the login form. Now, because I'm using the same component on, like the same element on all the form, so I make it a component and I make the Wiz attribute dynamic. They're also given Wiz cloak. Yeah, I think that's about the login page. Now let's move to Xano. Inside Xano, yeah, this is our API group. It's called invoMate. I think this is the first time we'll be entering Xano, so I should walk you through the database. The database, we have 5 tables: the client invoice, client, employee invoice, fields. The field is like the department where an employee would belongs to by default. Yeah, where an employee would belongs to. And lastly we have the user table. The user table, we have fields: name, email, employee ID, the fields ID, which we are referencing the field table here, and we are making it a list so that an employee can have more than one fields. They can belong to more than one department. We have role, the user role. So by default it will be employee, but there are three: executive, admin, and employee. We have a boolean deleted, which I prefer than just removing an employee, because you may employ them back later. So you can do this differently. It's totally up to you. You have account details and the rate, the hourly rate. Yeah. So the login and endpoints that we're using to log in, we have to input email and the employee ID, which we will be mapping to these two fields in Wized. I will get to that in a bit. So let's go through the function stack. The first thing we're doing is we are looking for the user, if the user exists. Okay, so when we look for the user, we return the user as variable user, and we have a precondition. Precondition is a function in Xano that must be true before you proceed. So the precondition is the user must not be null. Like, the user must be found. If it's not found, we throw an error to the front end that user does not exist. And the second precondition is the user must, this employee ID must be equals to the employee ID provided. Like, we just checking if the password or the ID is true. And the last condition is you're checking if the user role is executive or if the user role is an admin. So only an executive or an admin can log in. I think I did that in the demo. And also the user is not deleted. So these three things are important. Only user or admin can be authenticated to perform any function on our app. Okay, and then after all those are true, we will return an auth token. So now let's demonstrate how that will be done inside of Wized. So inside of Wized, the first thing you will do is, by the way, this is the newest Wized version, the new update. So where there's no more action, but we have elements and events, and it's very cool. So the first thing we do is add an app. App is just a list of your database. Xano invoMate is what I've named our Xano backend. So you copy your base URL. You can copy it here. Also, if you're adding Xano as app, the app will just be like a variable that is holding your base URL. So paste in your base URL, select REST, because we support all RESTful backend. So let's create our login endpoint, login request to the endpoint. Click the plus icon, give it a name. Because I've created the login request before, I'm not going to do that again, but just follow me. I name it login, put it in the folder auth, so you can create folder, and because the page belongs to auth, so I've created folder for each page of the app. So I put it in the folder auth, select the app you just created. So the method, you can get the method here. Post is a post, and the URL endpoint, just copy this auth/login. So when you are typing, the return will be there for you. So as you can see, I clear and it gave me back. So auth/login. Yeah, auth/login. The credential, just let it remain the same. Yeah, so now we have the body. So because it's a post method, we are gonna use the body. and inside the body we are passing these two input field to the endpoint. We're passing the value of the input field to the endpoint. So how do we do that? Create a new item, and the two inputs in your endpoint, copy the name, email, and employee ID. So email, then pass this email to it. So if you notice here, they say I is for input data. So if you press I, remember we gave our email input with attribute of login email. So when you type I, it will list all the input for you. Just select the one you want. So we have login email. Now because I've done that before, I'm gonna delete it. Also employee ID. So type employee ID, return this one to it. So now how do we trigger this request? So remember, okay, I did not talk about it. I gave the form a with attribute of login form, so it's gonna be recognized by login form. I'm gonna select it now, and on the other part we have event driven action, and the event is SF submit, which is a custom studio form event, which means studio form submit. We are preventing the vote because we don't want to submit to Webflow, and the first action is that we want to perform the request login, and after that we want to set a cookie, and the cookie is the auth token returned from the endpoint. So the endpoint is returning this auth token. We're creating an auth token and it's being returned. So we set cookie. You can create a cookie here. Just click the plus, give it a name, select when it will expire. Okay, we are returning r.login.data.auth token. Yeah, just make sure you include the return so that it will return the value for you. So you can also have access to this here. When you click in the data store, just click here. This is the data store. Go to R, click the curly brackets in the middle. You have a list of all your requests. Go to the one you want to select from, because there is no data yet. We have not make request to the endpoint, to the login endpoint, so we don't have any data yet. Yeah, so that's how you can select from the data store. Then after we've set cookie, we want to navigate to the dashboard. So you include the path to the dashboard into the URL or wherever you want to navigate the user to. So you are free to do anything. You can throw a confetti, you can display a message, just include everything here. So it's a sequence of action, and that's the new beauty about the new update from Wized. You can have as much action as you want in here. So notice we have condition for the action. Both of them are if the login is okay. So we don't want to set cookie if the request is not okay. We don't want to set cookie if we don't want to navigate if the request is not okay. And where are our error and success states? Remember I talked about cloak, which make your elements disappear on page load until you assign something to them. So our cloak is doing its work. Our login error, we want to set the visibility, and it should only be visible if these are the condition for its visibility. It should only be visible if the login as requested, and there is a message, there is an error message, and the login is not okay, and the login is not requested. So this is a double negation. Is a method that I've discovered that turn a variable into a truthy value. It turn anything to truthy value. So if this is positive, it will return true. So the error text is inside the error login error, so it will be visible if this one is visible. So we only want to set the text of it, which will be the login data error message, and also the login source X. We want it to be visible if the login has requested and the login is okay. So now we've connected everything together, and let's check it out. Let me use an incorrect credential first. User does not exist, and of course it does not exist. Okay, let me use a user that exists. This one exists, but the password is not correct. So now let me look for the password in the database. Remember, we're using ID to log in, not password. So this is the user. I'm gonna copy the ID, and yeah. Oh, the user is not an admin. Okay, let me look for a user that is an admin. Okay, Lavalin. Oh yeah, that's successful because the user is an admin. Okay, this is an executive, and we were given access to the dashboard. Yeah, I think we should cut it now. I don't want the episode to be too long. So the next episode, we try to cover employee and clients. Yeah, thank you. Bye.